I haven't heard it, so I need to hear it.
So hi, I'm Diaper Perv. This is JBDL, Donny,
Donny,
and a Livewire 25. And we're going to go back in time and talk about being an ABDL in the 90s. Or pretend that we're in the 90s and kind of recreate our experiences and share our experiences there.
Rad.
So what we're talking about is Livewire actually found the DPF, the printed DPF newsletter that he had an ad in when he was 27.
Ooh, let's hear it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know. So it has your name, your actual real name, and then where you lived in Washington, male, 27, your height, and your weight and waist size.
Well, let's read these the measurements here.
Go ahead.
Okay, he was 190 and 34 waist.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has your full phone number after 4 p.m. only.
Oh, wow. How's it work?
Yeah, because you're at work,
Yeah.
right? Were you still in the military?
Yes, I was in the Navy, yeah.
Oh my
I was in 10 years at that time.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so here's his ad. Bondage, comma. I like the feeling of helplessness and the opportunity to express and experience all kinds of fetishes. Frequently imagine myself tied up and to mess my diaper or panties and be disciplined and punished. Open to most kink. And then it has a whole bunch of like letters, and I guess that corresponds to things that you have interest in, but I don't have the guide here.
Bondage, wedding, messing, diapers.
Oh, okay.
You know, water sports, things like that. I remember some of them.
Yeah.
Now, I had a question about these things too, because that seems interesting to me. Is that, did they have a certain criteria you went by, or a certain number count of words or letters that you had to, that you could only like extend to?
Yeah, there's a certain number of, you know, letters that you could use, like 400 or 500 or whatever it was, and then how people got in contact with you was the numbers came later. When it first happened, people had to write DPF and enclose a little bit of money to get that person's address, and then they could write them a letter or something like that.
Okay.
And that, so they would send it to DPF, and then DPF would either forward the letter or they would give the person's address. I don't know how it works because I wasn't.
But they
part of
were
that.
like the matchmakers,
Yeah.
almost.
Oh, okay. So you paid for your ad, right? Or
Yes.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Were they expensive back then?
I don't remember. I thought it was like $15, but I don't really remember that.
Yeah,
I just remember that.
So not something crazy,
Yeah, it wasn't
but
Oh.
a really huge amount, and
Did you get the newsletter?
Yes.
With that
oh,
price?
good.
yeah, I would get the newsletter,
Yeah.
and that's how I got my first diapers because they were,
In
you
the
know,
back.
available, disposable, and I ordered a cloth one, but I didn't know what I was doing. It was just like a square thing, and I had no
Yes.
idea what to do with it.
Right.
I'm trying to like fit it on, and I'm like, but I remember going up to my apartment complex manager's office
Uh-huh.
because I had a little thing on my door that I got a delivery, and I had 2 bags of first quality diapers. They were all plain white, like 15 a thing. I ran down the hill of my apartment complex. I opened this thing. I was like, whoa, you know.
Good thing that they were in a box.
Yeah, they were in like a little brown box or something. But, you know, from what I remember, they were an okay brand. You know, not the thickest things in the world, not the skinniest things in the world, but at that time, I didn't know any better. Those were my very first ones.
Yeah.
Now I have a follow-up question. If you were to write an ad now, would you do the same exact thing?
I think I would write it a little bit more eloquently, a little bit more intelligently. I think that I was really kind of direct, and I got the wrong kind of attention with my ad. And
Oh no.
I think
Yeah.
I would.
Whatever
write
do you
it.
mean?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I had a lot of people calling me. Like one time I got this weird phone call from Florida, and the guy was like, "Hey, sport, come down to my compound and tool around and toddle around on my toys," and he's telling me he's got ATVs and this and that.
Ooh. So it's like a van with candy, but like via phone call.
Right?
I have the van with all the candy you want in Florida.
I had roommates at the time, and I didn't live alone, so I was kind of like nervous, and I sputtered out because the guy asked me if I was gay, and I said, well, maybe, but I was just trying to get off the phone because my roommates were looking at me.
Right. Get off the phone, yeah.
And then that guy kept calling and calling and calling, and finally, when I was alone, I kind of said, hey, look, I know what my ad says, but I'm not really
Looking for that.
into that or looking for that, and I'm sorry if I led you on in any way. It's a total accident, and I didn't mean to. But then DPF got rocked by that scandal, which we all know.
Well, if you don't know, then look it up, because there's only so much time on this episode.
Exactly. So did you get a ton of phone calls from that, or just a few?
They were kind of sporadic. I'd get like one a week, and then I wouldn't get one for a couple weeks. They seemed to like come when the newsletter was delivered.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and
makes
there would
sense.
be some new describers in there. I do remember though that 90% of those ads were male, and there weren't many females in there. We all thought Angela was super cool because she was so well-spoken and outspoken in there.
Yeah.
And she had a confidence that I think that we were all striving for at that time. Like if you needed a role model.
Who is Angela
yeah,
that
who
we
is
speak
Angela?
That you speak of?
I think her name was Angela Bauer.
Angela Bauer.
I think.
That's it.
I think that was her
Well,
name.
Angela Bauer, if you're watching this,
You're an
thank
inspiration,
you
yeah.
from Live Wire 25.
She's like the 1970s Wonder Woman. Like, she was such an inspiration at that time in a period that was very crucial. There's a lot going on.
Right. I believe she was a lawyer.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, she was very open about her life and her lifestyle and diapers, and they made some great content. I remember her and her daddy. They did, like, back in the day, like, shoots that were very natural and didn't feel forced and had, like, a very happy vibe and energy to them.
Yeah. There needs to be more of that, I feel like. Yeah. So did any women call you?
They only had one girl call me, and she told me that she was transitioning from male to female, and her voice was like really, really sultry but scratchy. And I didn't know what transitioning meant at that time. I didn't know. I mean, I know now, but I'm speaking like how I got it.
27, yeah.
And I didn't quite understand it. And I was getting ready to go on deployment anyway, like an emergency deployment, and I was leaving within a couple days, so it wouldn't be any good for me to get in any type of relationship or pursue anything. So I just said, hey, this is not a good time. Thank you for the call. And then shortly thereafter, I didn't continue with the newsletter or DPF closed. I don't remember exactly what.
Okay.
But I was getting the newsletter for like maybe 3 years or something like that.
Oh, okay. Did you make any lasting pen pals from that?
I
or-
didn't.
Okay.
Because I never really found anybody that I would want to write in there, you know? And so I just kind of wasn't really pursuing it.
I have a question. How did you even find DPF printed mailed newsletter in the first place?
There was a ad that I saw somewhere, and I don't remember. I think it was in Nugget magazine, because Nugget magazine had a lot of diaper fetish content. You know, there was Taboo, as Donny said earlier, but it was more like letters in Taboo, you know, in situations that people would write about. And Nugget was more of like, you know, like the Playboy of fetish. You know, there was bondage in there was urination in there's enemas, things like that. And you could, not only were there was like picture type stories. And so I think that's where I saw like a small little ad for DPF, and because there really wasn't that much at the time to seek out. You know.
Okay. Was this before the internet? Before you went
This was
online?
kind of, I mean, the internet was going on, but I couldn't really afford a computer at that time, or I never thought about getting one. But I was looking at that Aunt Becky's Naughty Nursery because I thought the pictures were exceptionally hot.
They were.
You know.
It was a sad day when that website closed.
I know.
I never went on that. So what was on that site?
It was kind of femdom oriented. And there was a lot of girls in diapers, but there were also guys in diapers too, as I recall. Like, it was broken up like women, men, or something like that. They're kind of their sections. and it had more of a slant towards forced diapering and bondage and things like that.
Yeah.
They had a back then. Your site would host pictures, but the ones that seemed to get the most traffic were sites that hosted stories too.
Oh, yeah.
Stories used to be huge because those took up less bandwidth, so you could host more of them. And that site had a lot of good stories, if I recall.
You're right about the femdom, because I remember this hot picture that is still in my head from that, and there was this guy and girl who were diapered, and they were on this like a long chase thing, like a double-sided chase, and they had spreader bars on in a diaper, and they had their hands mittened up to like a spreader bar up connected to collars, and they had bit gags in, and this femdom dressed as a nurse is checking their diapers, and for the guy, she has her hand on the crotch, and then for the girl, she's holding her nose and implying, you know, and I thought, oh my God, what a scenario, like that is a hot picture, you know.
So,
Yeah. So what else, what other good memories and sites do you have of the 90s?
Well, he brought up Kathy
and Kelly's Diaper Page.
which, you know, they were really out in the open. Like, it wasn't just pictures at their house. They would be in the park, or the guy would be in the tree.
Or they'd be out off-roading somewhere. Or
Yeah,
something
I remember
like
an RV or something like that, and he had a Pampers shirt on, and it was that and a diaper. That was the outfit, and she was clearly in charge, and very, very positive pictures, nothing negative ever. I mean, it was just sunshine and diapers with them. They were so positive, and when you're looking for positivity at that time in the 90s, you know, they were a big part of it.
I mean, the fact that they normalized a lot of their daily life with diapers, because as I recall in the bio, Kelly, the guy, said that he was incontinent, so he had to wear diapers, but that he enjoyed it and he enjoyed the AB lifestyle as well. And then Kathy, his wife, you know, she wasn't, but she loved her husband, and this made him happy, and so they worked that as part of their relationship. And she even would shoot some content where she would put on a diaper and whatnot. I'm sure that, you know, that got them more picture views and whatnot, but it was more focused around him, and then just a very normal looking couple with normal social activities that also happened to wear diapers.
So
or at least one of them did.
Was this a pay site? Or
No,
was it
this
a
was
free
it was
site?
like a blog. It was like somebody's personal blog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of like a blog. And then they would have little pictures here and there. Like, I think they were in DPF or something like
I'm sure that they
Send-
reached out to a few
yeah.
other groups at the time.
something like that. I don't quite exactly remember, but you're right about Bite Mine.
Bite Mine was another one,
Right.
and that was BYTE, if you can find it on the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
They made content. Gosh, what was the name? Bite Mine was his website, but what was the name of the stuff?
I thought it was Hannibal Lecter's diaper. No?
Was it? Maybe.
I honestly think
That
that
could
was
be
it.
Hannibal Lecter.
Because he had all those pictures, and that went on to become Diapered Online.
Yeah. And then back in the day, you would be able to order CDs, and the CDs would have
Wow.
like 2 photo sets plus maybe a half dozen videos on them, and you would choose like which models you wanted to get the CDs of. I ordered one back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Because like the pictures, like he would show like maybe 10 or 20 pictures from each photo set, and then not much video, but he would sometimes host videos too. Again, back in the day, you had to pay to host all of that. There was no YouTube, there was no third-party hosting site that let you host for free. You had to pay your bandwidth. And so getting content as somebody who was exploring ABDL from your computer sometimes was limited. And the idea of like, okay, I'll pay $20 and I'll get a couple of CDs that have, you know, 300 pictures per set, and you get 2 sets, and then you get 6 videos, and each video is 10 minutes long, so you get an hour of video. It's like, wow,
That's pretty good.
it was something like it was really
Dial up, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you would get that, and it was just mind blowing. Even if the photo sets were really just like somebody had the rapid shutter button going, and it was like incremental movements, almost like stop motion, but it was still something.
Yeah, like a scene.
I remember some of those pictures too.
Oh yeah, there were some great models he
Yeah.
had, and they were very authentic. Even if the models weren't AB, the way that he shot was very authentic.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was I kicked myself because back in the day he had a CD he had a CD for sale that was like one of the cheap ones, and I should have bought it. It was his outtakes and behind the scenes CD.
Oh wow.
So it was a compilation from all the photo sets of outtakes,
Right.
mistakes, whatever. Whereas a regular CD was probably like $12, $15. The outtake CD was like $5 or $6. So it wasn't meant to be erotic content. It was just for fun.
Oh, okay.
And in one of the descriptions of what was on that CD was a interview with one of the models after a shoot. And I always wanted to see that interview, and it probably exists somewhere. If you guys have it, upload it to YouTube if you can.
Right.
And it was the model talking about how she was discussing the shoot with her friends or her family about, yeah, I'm getting paid to wear diapers and
Oh, wow.
do this, but the model was very positive and like, yeah, it was really a lot of fun, and yeah, I'll come back and I'll do that again. That was great.
Yeah.
And it was like somebody discovering that, maybe they like it too.
Yeah.
That's how it should
Can
be.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just matter of fact. Like, hey, I did this today.
Yeah, that was a great site back in the day. A lot of content.
I do remember that. And I remember diapered damsels.
Diaper damsels, yep.
I remember that.
Did you go on Usenet back in the day? alt.sex.fetish.diapers?
I did not.
I kind of remember it, but I don't know if I ever. I think it's still up, actually.
I think Usenet is.
I think
It
it is.
I would imagine if you went to any of the sex fetish pages, though, that it's just loaded with viruses and spam. Not that it wasn't back then.
Right.
But yeah, that was pretty common.
So did you go on Usenet a lot on the message board there?
I did, because at the time, AOL actually had a very good UI to access it, to get into Usenet boards. It didn't require a third-party client set up, install, any of that. So it was really easy to navigate in and search for boards you were interested in.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
my
Yeah.
God! I just remember something that happened to me.
What's that?
What?
I was on board a ship. I don't want to say which one.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to be looking at any kind of porn because they sometimes look at what you're looking at and you can get in trouble. So I remember telling a friend I accidentally went to this diaper site and could you please erase it for me? We're good friends. He erased it for me. But a guy who was actually from Las Vegas,
Yeah.
he worked for the governor, joined the Navy. Right? He was on board my ship.
Yeah.
Somehow he got my phone number and he tried to disguise his voice and he's like, hey, are you into diapers? And I'm like, who is this? Who are you talking about? And I could tell it was him, but somehow he was in a job where he could look at what I looked at.
Yeah.
So that's probably how he found out. But then he got my number and called me. And I always thought that he was a little bit funny as far as I thought he was gay type stuff. But he actually did call me and try to ask me questions about that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
So what was his purpose, his end game?
I guess he was, looking for a connection that he wore to or had a fetish in it and found out that I did and was calling, But I knew it was him because I could just tell. He didn't disguise his voice enough. And I knew the speech patterns of how he talked.
Yeah. And he didn't change that.
Right.
So he just straight up asked you, hi, are you into diapers?
Yeah. And he's like, and he was saying the site that I went to, which was
that's kind of creepy.
Aunt Becky's Naughty Nursery.
I accidentally went on a diaper site. How do I erase this?
Yeah.
I was actually trying to find my Aunt Becky. I didn't know.
No, I kind of got nailed, and my friend erased her for me, and I never got in trouble for it. But, that guy, he worked for the governor or the mayor or something of Las Vegas or something like that, and then he ended up joining the Navy, and then... Yeah.
I see.
Not the same guy who hooked me up, who erased it. This was a different guy.
Yeah.
But, he somehow got my number and he called me.
Oh my goodness. I remember, I wasn't on AOL. I just wasn't on it. So I was on IRC or MIRC or Merc. And I remember diaper chat rooms there too. And also female desperation chat rooms, like wedding chat rooms. But I don't remember much about it.
I remember the AOL chat room for sure. Or Daily Diapers chat room.
Yeah,
How many people would be in it?
Oh.
So
Easily.
AOL was interesting that it had a cap on the number of people that could be in a chat room at a time.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like 30 or 50. And so you would search for ABDL in the chat rooms, you'd click on it, and now if that room was full or somebody pissed somebody off and they left to start their own chat room, because you could just do that in AOL, start a new public chat room and name it whatever you want. You'd see ABDL, ABDL1, ABDL2, maybe TBDL, that used to be a thing, teen babies.
Yeah.
Which,
God.
thank God that has been left in the ancient history of the internet, because
That was asking for trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were young and stupid. Please don't be like us. And things along those lines. There was even like a DPF chat room in AOL. I know people were using whatever they could to identify as ABDL.
Yeah. Daily Diapers had a good one, and there would be like, 30, 40, sometimes 50
easy.
people in there talking, and I remember the names
Wow.
that were in there. I remember Diaper Wearing Tigger was in there. I remember this lady named Curious, and she was kind of like the mommy of the room. She would put people in timeout if they were being rude, and there's a lot of little role play sentences and stuff like that. And
that's what most of those chat rooms were. There would be like intermittent role play happening.
yeah,
Some people would just be talking about diapers and like, what do you guys like about diapers? Like, if you go on Reddit, the conversations you see there have basically been having ad nauseum for 30 years.
yeah,
And,
Oh my goodness.
but back in the day, because it was also a live chat, you would see people trying to instigate RP
Yeah.
almost
Role play.
constantly. Role play. Someone would come in like, who's got a stinky diaper that wants to get changed?
right.
That's
Yeah.
your voice for it.
And, and like starting to have like little scenes inside a chat room.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that.
So
And
that
we
was
all
another-
learned that women get treated better on the internet than guys do.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In the chat rooms, if like you had a guy type name, forget about it. If there was a girl, I remember this girl named Diaper Girl 420 or something like that was like her little screen name. Forget it. They all like were just kissing her butt.
Really?
Yeah, she was talking a little baby talk, kind of like tee hee, or type in baby talk, and all these people would just be. But let a guy come in there, like it could be Daddy so and so or Diaper Paul or whatever the name would be, and they would just basically get ignored.
Yeah.
Wait, so would women stick around in these environments back then, or would they get chased away?
You didn't know though if they were girls or.
The really quick, the saying was, welcome to the internet where the men are men, the women are men, and the children are FBI agents.
Right.
And that's what it was, because anyone could pretend to be whoever they wanted in the early days.
Right.
Yeah.
You still can to some extent, but
Right. And so I did not have a name there that would point me out as a guy. My name on there was Diaper Pet.
Okay.
That's what my name was.
Yeah.
And I portrayed a girl on there, but I was never looking for any type of relationship. I was just going in there, just talking with people who I had come to know with, that's it. Wasn't looking for a relationship, didn't lead anybody on, never talked about relationships, nothing, I guess I was just kind of coming in there to learn, because I didn't really know what products were out. This is like, internet's just starting out, or maybe a little bit closer to the late 90s or something like that. But, none of us knew what we were really doing. We're just kind of like,
figuring it out.
yeah,
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Huh.
like trial and error.
So I wonder if there were a lot of women on there.
I
I
know
mean,
some.
I don't know.
I mean,
no one knows.
The representation percentages we see now, I think, have probably been fairly constant. So there's probably, what would you say, 20%, 30% women participation in ABDL?
I don't know. It seems much higher in person than
That's true.
online. Because I feel like when women are online, they get treated not good and then they leave. And I actually know women that I've convinced them to go in the community to make an Instagram page, and then they don't like it. They have a bad experience, or all their experiences have been not good. And they're like, why do I want to share this part of myself and then just get all these comments?
Right.
Or all these people hitting you up? I'm just gonna leave.
There's some of each for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of, I can't say the word, but anonymous, but with the ITY on it, on the end, and anonymity, I can't pronounce that word. Anonymity. Because like on FET, people can write people and they just think that they can write them any way they want. And that hasn't changed from the 90s to now, you know? But when it was like that and there was a girl type name and they were in that chat room, they seemed to get treated a little bit better.
Yep.
And that's an interesting perspective when you said that, because I was like, what? Because me as a female, I felt like I got treated worse. And I had to, number one, prove myself that I'm not a guy. And that in itself is exhausting, because how do I do that?
Well, let me ask you a question really quick. Were you treated worse by men or treated worse by women?
By men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I made a girl persona, because I had originally come in there, you know, as a guy. I don't remember what my name was, but I was just nothing. You know, I couldn't even say hi, and people would be like, what are you doing here? And in all the intention, I was like, oh, I know what to do. And so I kind of came back with a more girl name, never revealed my gender, never let anybody on, but just to talk to people a little bit more, I seemed to get treated better. So that was what I kind of saw. It might not be right or perfect or whatever, but this is what I noticed.
Huh, interesting. And yeah, and my experience was the opposite. Like, I felt like I did not get treated well being out as a woman.
Yeah.
In anything.
And one thing was crazy, like there was this girl, or whoever, but the screen name was Curious. And she was kind of like the mommy of the room. You know, she would RP holding you or changing this or whatever. And then it got really like if somebody was acting up, she would rally everybody up against that person and, oh, everybody mute him or don't talk to that person or whatever. It got like, you know.
It seems like
bullying.
the young ABDLs today on Instagram and on FET, like they're doing the same thing. They're bullying people.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so nothing's changed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But but because they perceive Curious as, oh, she's the mommy of the room, she got away with a lot of stuff that I'm not saying shouldn't go on, but would be perceived as bullying.
I mean, I can't recall names. You have better memory for that than I do. But I remember back in the day, there was always some turmoil at some forum or website somewhere of somebody who was abusing their powers as a mod or a web admin or something like that to either try and pick up on younger ABDLs that were new to the scene or exclude ABDLs that they didn't like or didn't agree with.
Yeah.
There was always something that seemed to be going on at every, there was always some scandal happening somewhere, and then to this day there still is, really.
Like an authority complex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But back then it was such a small group of websites we all participated in that those ripples were felt really fast.
Yeah, because you couldn't avoid those people.
Yeah,
like
you
you're in the
couldn't.
same space.
Right.
What are some other really good sites? I remember one called ABY.
Yep, ABY.com.
Yeah.
You remember them? They had like the big blocky letters, like the baby blocks.
Yes. Yeah.
That was one. I mean, an infamous name that most people will probably cringe at is Deekers.
Oh,
Deekers
yeah.
Diaper Page.
Yeah, I was never really on there.
Yeah.
I remember that, and I heard some stuff about it that I don't know what happened about it, but
Yeah, it never happened to me, but yeah, I went to that site, and then I heard later on it's kind of like the DPF scandal.
oh, gotcha.
You know,
Right.
things like that.
I do remember that name though.
You know, I remember back in the day, I can't remember who she was, coming across a ad for a professional mommy that was somewhere close to me or local to me, somewhere in the LA area.
Mistress Jacqueline?
Might have been. I don't remember, but she had a phone number you could call to leave a message to set up an appointment. And I called that number late one night, and it was the most erotic answering machine ever.
Wow.
Because she was in full mommy mode. And I'm just going to use that name because I don't know. Thank you for calling, Mistress Jacqueline. Do you want to set up an appointment? "Are you a little baby? Do you wear your diaper?" And it was just like, and you're on the phone, and here's a woman talking like this on a voicemail, and it's offering this as a service, and you're like, "Oh my god!" You know, and it's like, you know, it was very, very fantasy fulfilling in a lot of ways. I can only imagine, like, there were how many people were like me that just called to listen to her voicemail and never listened to a message.
I don't know if that was her, because I read her autobiography, and I know she was a mistress, and I know she was very into the bondage and S&M and things like that, so I don't know.
I can't remember the name. I just remember seeing this back in the 90s, and that was the craziest thing. The first time I saw somebody offering that as a paid service. And it was probably I forget how much it was for a session. I think for her at the time, for a 4-hour session, was something in the neighborhood of a few $100, $300, $400, something like that. Like $100 an hour.
Wow.
Right.
And I was looking at the meager paychecks I was getting at the time as a college student. Like, do I really set aside money to go do this?
Yeah, see, in the early 90s, I had my first pro session in San Francisco, because we were there for Fleet Week. And I thought San Francisco's where all the kink is. That's what I thought, because, you know, it just seemed like all the books like Centurions and Spartacus and all that stuff were out of that area. And so I went and had a pro session there, and I mean, I only went a half hour. It wasn't any big deal or anything like that. But I don't know what I was thinking. I was walking around the streets of San Francisco like, oh, that's probably a dungeon there. Or that's probably, I mean, I just thought everything was a dungeon, or everything was like, you know, oh, that's a nursery or something, or kink related. Like, how naive.
That's your fantasies getting the better of you, right? Bondage.
You mentioned getting, kind of circling back really quick, you mentioned getting your first diapers out of DPF.
Yeah.
And back in the day, my story was I got my first diapers from actually going to a drugstore and bringing them home. It's scary enough as it is.
Right.
But then online, I think the first place I started ordering things from, they were cloth diapers at the time, was a company out of Canada called Babykins. And I think they're still around.
Oh, from Vancouver?
Might be, yeah, I think.
I've been to their warehouse.
Yeah.
I like went there to buy some stuff and pick it up there, and they had like a whole like sewing factory.
Yeah.
People working.
But like back in the day, like seeing their catalog full of ABDL diapers and onesies, and it was just amazing, and the quality was top notch.
Right.
Was
I remember
amazing.
the name.
And then the other big place that used to be able to get diapers from and maybe paraphernalia at the time, eBay. Before Amazon, there was eBay.
Oh, wow.
And before Etsy, there was eBay. And I remember there was this one person out of Florida, and she was a seamstress, and she would sew custom diapers for adults, and then you could specify how many layers you wanted in those diapers. So if you wanted something ridiculously thick at the time, she could do that for you.
You just jogged my memory of another name. I hope I say it right. Remember Bitter Gray?
Bitter Gray's Den.
Gray's Den.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because wow. So what was that? What was his old site? Because I only know understandinginfantilism.org.
I just know the name. I don't really
I mean,
remember too much of it. And
Because I met him at a convention and we chatted. So I'll ask.
I remember ordering from, like I said, DPF, and then I quickly transpired to go to XP Medical, and I got Molly Cares,
Molly Cares. Purple Molly Cares.
Right.
Oh my god.
which felt like thick cardboard, but it was a great diaper.
Yeah, those made you waddle for sure. You could not close your legs.
They were like that thick, or at least they felt like it.
They
It
were
was very
thick and stiff.
Very stiff. Felt like cardboard. You're like,
I have one in the closet. I'm gonna dig it up.
yeah.
Wow.
It's a great diaper. It still is.
Yeah, back in the day, that was your primo top of the line ABDL diaper because it was purple
And a Bina,
and a thick.
the X Plus as well,
Mhm.
because I was ordering those from XP Medical, and then I was telling Perv about this brand called Mega Careline. Do you remember that one?
I can't say as I do.
Okay. It was like a very off light mauve type color, like almost like a pinkish lavender, but they were like dry 24/7 in thickness. you know, and they were like an Israeli brand or something. I jumped on those things. Because they came 72 a case, 72
Oh, wow.
to 2 a case, and I don't remember them being that expensive. Like they were just trying to like whatever. So I was ordering and ordering and ordering, and I like, you know, I was like a diaper hoarder there.
Was XP Medical the one that was out of Missouri?
XP Medical, I think, is out of California somewhere.
There was one out of Missouri. I can't remember the name of them. They were another medical diaper company. And they sold Molly Cares. They sold the ones that ABs would definitely go for. And they were AB aware for sure. I remember somebody talking about like calling them, and yeah, they knew that a lot of the adults ordering stuff weren't for home, or not for medical. But I ordered from them once, but they didn't last too long in the AB community because they would start sending you big, thick catalogs of adult diapers to your address.
God.
And you had, the first time that happened to me, I mean, I nearly shit myself, and not in a good way. It was, oh my God, this is in my mailbox with my name on it. And good thing I get my mail before my family does, because,
Eye-opener.
wow.
Surprise.
Yeah.
These like old publications. These are Amazing Baby Tales. Book 1. Oh my goodness, I have the original. The Playpen.
Playpen, yeah.
This was $12. And then you had to pay for shipping. So
Wow.
it seems like the CDs with the content is like a good deal.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at some of the pictures that I see there, and those are pictures that you would see poorly scanned online in a lot of places,
Yeah.
especially these on the Playpen, for example.
Tales from the Crib.
Yeah.
I have so many of this because a very generous donor has given me boxes of these old artifacts, starting from the 70s up to the 2000s.
Wow.
And I don't know what to do with them.
I mean,
Gonna
these
make
are
the
history.
ABDL museum.
Yeah, I'm gonna ship them to Lolly.
Well, I
She can do
remember a magazine or something like that called Baby Times or something, where the ad was like, do you not go, it was in Nugget magazine, I know that, and it said something like, do you do 1 and 2 in your diaper? Just the excitement of calling somebody mommy gets you excited. Well, this magazine is for you, and it was
that. Ooh,
Baby Times or something like that.
I might have it in one of these big boxes
Maybe.
back here.
But
Yeah.
I mean, at that time, Nugget magazine was my go-to because it was just all fetish. It wasn't like Playboy or Hustler, where it was just girls in lingerie or naked. It was representing fetishes. And you know, the newsletters, it had this banner that was like artwork, and so there's one person chasing another person, very cartoon looking, like with an enema bag, and then there's somebody else with crossed legs, and they're biting their fingers and they're peeing down their leg, and so all the fetishes were represented up in this banner, or at least some of them.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
And then of course they would write letters like, I can't believe this happened to me.
Did you ever write in? to
No.
these
Oh, well,
magazines? No.
I wrote in at Diapered Online.
Yeah.
And because he was advertising something like, you know, if you know, you wrote a good letter or something like that, I will buy you a case of diapers. Well, he told me I never won, and one time I wrote him like 3 times, the 3 separate scenes that I had done, and I never won. I was like, okay, yeah,
And used his vision for
Dang it.
content.
yeah, pretty much. And I think they're still up there actually.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I wrote some pretty hot, true scenes that I've done and all that stuff. I
You
don't.
should write them on Reddit or
Yeah.
just on FetLife.
Yeah, I could go find them and talk about it, or even just write it again about what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's something people who might be watching this video, if you're newer to the scene, may not necessarily appreciate is the amount of erotic fiction that was in the 90s and through the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Right.
It far outweighed what you had in visual media content.
Yeah.
Unlike now, where everything is visual, everything's a picture or a movie. There's very little scene construction, it seems, or not nearly as much, because everything used to be about erotic stories. And that's where I think, at least for me, I was introduced to a lot of different concepts. It wasn't just diapers anymore. It was like different kinds of diapers and bondage and predicaments that just went like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this has a sick mind and I love it.
Well, DPF, you could buy the stories.
Yeah.
Like there were stories, and it had codes of what was in the story. So like A, this story contains diapers. B, I think with notable sites, we're not going to remember each one, but people out there will, and please put them down in the comments, even if they're overseas somewhere out of the United States.
There were some great Japanese sites back in the day too.
Right.
I can't even remember them. I remember seeing the content now that you say it.
Wow. I had no idea.
So yeah, we'd love to hear them if you've got any sites that you could remember, or even any memories of anything that we're talking about. Please write it down in the comments so we could kind of read that too, and maybe it refreshes our memories for something else.
Take a trip down memory lane.
Yeah. Big time.
And hey, even if it's not early, if it's not 90s, if it's early 2000s, because really that period just bleeds into itself. You know, that was just a different era than it is now, for sure.
That's crazy that drama was still happening. In
Oh gosh.
You have no idea. Because there was that site Collar Me, which became Collar Space. Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a hot mess right there alone. It's just horrible.
Was it horrible? I met someone through there.
There's some diamonds in the rough for sure,
Yeah.
but it's all gone to like escorts and things like that, and,
okay,
and,
I see.
and findoms and all that stuff.
Oh.
It's just it's a zoo.
Oh. I thought it was a quality place. I actually met two quality people there.
It was when it first started out,
Yeah.
and then there was that. Oh my God, alt.com.
Oh yeah.
Alt.com.
I've never been on there. I always thought that was like a scam or it wasn't real.
It wasn't a scam.
Mhm.
It was like you could create your profile or ad or something like that. But then when somebody contacted you, you had to pay to get their contact information, and then you could write them.
Yeah.
So eventually I went to like a premium membership or something like that. But at first I was free. But then I was getting like people contacting me. So I was like, oh, let me go to premium. And it turned out to be some quality people. But then I left there because I was like, oh, here's Collar Me, and it's free. And I did meet some quality people there too, but then it turned into a zoo, and then I went to FetLife.
Okay. It's interesting because I think our perspectives are different because of our genders.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I was looking for a guy on Collar Me, and there were so many great guys there that, you know, matched my personality. But there probably, if you were a guy looking for a dominant woman, there probably wasn't any or very few. Because as soon as I met the people I wanted to meet, I was off of there. There was no point.
Right. One of my best scenes was this lady from like Arizona, and she some kind of enema website, and she contacted me, and she wanted to be in diapers to see what it was like. And she's like, I really like your profile, and I'm coming to your area, and then we ended up hooking up, and it was pretty good. That's one of the things I wrote to Diaper Online about the scene.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. It was a really good scene.
We're supposed to do our ads, our DPF ads, if we were in the 90s. So let's do that. So I'll go first, so you guys can. So I guess back then I didn't know I was a diaper perv. I just wanted someone to explore it with. So I would write something like, you know, female 19, obviously, and
that's it. Your inbox is flooded.
no!
Bing, 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 bing.
He didn't even
the
finish the
messages
ad and he got a response.
Well, first of all, you went broke paying to get all those addresses that you have to now write.
Wait, okay, so I guess mine would say
You got 500 messages.
interested in putting a diaper on a male, and I would have like an age range closer to mine, and that's it. Because I didn't know anything else. So
What about the codes?
I don't know the codes. I don't know what the codes are. So
What would you like
that
them to be into?
I don't know. Diapers. I guess being babied or being mommied.
Okay.
Because I was into that type of power exchange of being someone older and then taking advantage of someone younger than me.
And you'd like them to make number 1, 2, and 3 in a diaper?
Just one.
Okay.
Because I wasn't into number 2 until like a few years ago.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
But then if I had met someone when I was 19 that I could play with, then who knows? I probably would have been into number 2.
Right.
Definitely number 3. I think that's all I would say. It would be the worst, like, female interested
You
in
made
putting
fun of
diapers
mine.
on a male.
You
I'm
made fun of mine.
sorry.
Not too easy, is it?
No, it's not. Because I didn't know anything about pegging or anything like that. So that's literally what my ad would say. So you guys go.
You see, okay, you already had yours. Let's see, mine. Am I writing this as I was in the 90s or writing
Yes.
it as I is now?
No, in the 90s.
In the 90s. Male, old, X years old, legal age. Into diapers, want to wear diapers and use them for number 1. Looking for somebody who will help me wear diapers and maybe change diapers, and do other activities. Maybe bondage, maybe role play. You know, just to stop right there real quick, it's like I never was like huge into the AB stuff, and so it's really hard to communicate that. I think back then I would have been looking for somebody who just accepted diapers and wanted to go and do normal date things and have that as part of the relationship.
Yeah.
So I'd probably like try and craft something around that to say that was another. And the bondage was also something at the time too that I liked, or medical fetish, because that was sort of the gateway towards diapers for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So would you change your ad?
Hell yeah.
Oh.
It'd be bondage, diapers, extravaganza.
So what would yours say?
I think I would write it more of a, I guess explain more that I was a switch, you know, and that can change or be changed type thing, but I think I would write it with a little bit more flair and more welcoming, because I think I just kind of put more like bullets, because that's how I was used to writing, getting to the
Yeah.
point really fast. But we
Yeah.
also didn't have a lot of room, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, it's not like FetLife we could write 5,000 words and
Yeah.
describe ourselves. So you only had a certain amount of time. But I think I would try to make mine more welcoming. And you know what? You can get to that other stuff later if somebody makes a connection and decides to write you. Then there's room enough to talk about that later.
Yeah.
So I think I would just write, hey, I like diapers and I was a switch. And, you know, please write me and
Please
let's go from
write
there.
me.
Please.
God, that sounds like
Please.
Oliver Twist. Can I please have some more diapers, please?
Can
I don't
please
know
have
who
some
that
attention?
You don't know who Oliver Twist
No,
is?
I want to go
Oh,
into this
boy.
right now.
That's a classic. I forget what the movie is. I'm going to hell now.
I'm Canadian, so that's my excuse.
Who was
Okay.
Oliver Twist in?
Oliver Twist?
Esmeralda? No.
No,
Is that with Disney?
no, I think it was just Oliver Twist. That was the story.
Oh.
That was also the character.
Is that Tom Sawyer?
No, it was a Charles Dickens novel.
Oh my God.
Okay, can we just stop this?
Of course,
whole
when she
video?
says
We're
Tom
gonna
Sawyer,
wrap
she's
it up.
talking about
Please
the
teach.
Rush song.
Please teach Diaper Perv her fairy tales in the comments below.
It's a fairy tale?
No, it's,
Yes, it is.
Oliver Twist is not a fairy tale. It's in the same line as like
Is it a
A
folk
Christmas
tale?
Carol, or
Yep. I think I'll. No, you're right.
because it's
Okay.
Charles Dickens.
Okay.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Then I'm not gonna care about that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's cut because my butt hurts on here.
Okay. Bye, everyone.